Hello, I'm Carol James, and I'm here to tell you about an amazing textile technique called sprang. So, what's sprang, you ask? And what can you do with it? Well, let me tell you. Sprang items have been found in pre-Columbian America. Pieces found in Northern Europe date to the Bronze Age. Here's my replica. This piece imitates a Bronze Age bonnet in the Danish National Museum in Copenhagen. Modern bonnets are also possible, such as this hat. You make one side of the hat at the same time as you're making the other side of the hat. Here's another version where the front is made at the same time as the back of the hat. Mittens are also possible. You make these two at a time. For the work of making one, the other one just happens. Here's a pair of lacy gloves I made inspired by a collection in Brussels. Some scholars think that the vertical striped leggings of medieval and Renaissance time may have been sprang. Here's my version of sprang leggings. Sprang usually requires a frame. But before you go out and buy a frame, I know you're asking, am I going to like this? Will it be worth the money spent on the frame? Well, I'm going to show you the basic technique. The basic technique really doesn't need a frame. You can try this at home and decide you like it. For this exercise, you'll need a few items. You need 2 colors of yarn, tape, 2 sticks, these could be chopsticks or popsicle sticks or pencils, and you'll need scissors. Also handy might be one of these clips. They're made for sealing bags, but you can use it to hold your place when you want to take a break. Cut 5 strings of each color, that's 10 strings in all, and cut them about 30 inches long, that's 80 centimeters, and tie them together at one end. Tape these ends to the table. Now we're going to separate the colors. Lift one color group of threads and insert a stick. You'll want to tape this stick to the table. The next step is to organize the threads. Take a thread from the bottom and move it to the right. Then take a top thread, then move a bottom thread and then a top thread, and then a bottom thread and then a top thread, alternating the 2 colors all the way across, and this is the way it should look. Now, beginning with the thread at the right, lift all the threads of this color. Pick up one, picking up white and white and white. They're interspersed between the greens, and now I'm going to put a second stick in the space. You will want to move the tape. Right now it's only holding the top stick. Move it so it'll hold both sticks. Move the tape on both sides, and now we're ready to begin with the basic stitch. Pick up these upper threads and hold them in your left hand. You will move threads one by one, moving threads to your right hand. Begin not with this first thread, but with the first thread on the table. Pick it up, and now place a thread from your hand onto the table. Do this again, pick one up and put one down. You're twisting the threads in pairs. Pick one up and put one down, and pick one up and put one down. Last one, pick one up, put one down, and these colors will tell you that you did it correctly. That was the initial row. You're now ready for the stitches. I'll show you the interlinking stitch. Really, it's 2 rows that alternate. Let me show you. So what kind of mistakes can happen? And how will you know you've made a mistake? Let me show you. Let's begin with the question, what row am I on? When unsure, I recommend you begin with plain stitches. Pick one up and put one down. If, working across the row, you notice, gee, I'm just getting ropes, it's not really engaging as cloth, then you know this should have been a braiding row. You should have begun by picking up 2, put one down. Threads are now engaging as cloth. Something else to watch for, I see this in every class, watch my index finger. In every class, someone's finger does this. When going to fetch the next back thread, the index finger drops all those previous stitches. Tell your finger, collect them all. Pick up 2 threads and put one down. I've now got 3, I'm going to go for 4. Pick one up And now 5 is put this one down. Be careful to choose the correct next thread. Look and see that it comes behind 2 other threads. Sometimes a thread jumps ahead of his turn, and you'll notice, looking up here, you'll notice the threads are all bunched together. The threads on the previous row will tell you which is the right one for this row. If you don't clearly see that, yes, this is the correct thread coming behind 2 other threads, if I begin the second row the same as the first, pick one up, put one down, pick one up, put one down, you can see I'm just getting ropes. It's not really engaging as cloth. So this is the secret. We have 2 rows that alternate. I call these the braiding row and the follow-up row. And we'll begin with a braiding row. Begin the braiding row by picking up 2 threads and put one down. That way, each time you pick up a new thread, you have to reach way over here behind. This thread now has a different partner on this row. Pick one up and put one down. And at the end of the row, pick one up. Oh, looks like we have an extra thread, but no, this is correct because we began with 2 threads up and we end with 2 threads down at the end of the row. We have this special edge stitch and then what I call plain stitches, one up, one down, and then there's another edge stitch on the left side, and that's the braiding row. The braiding row is followed by the follow-up row, where we have plain stitches all the way across. This means that we're returning to our original pairs. We pick up this one from the back and put one down. When you pick one up, notice it comes behind 2 threads, 2 threads in the front. Pick up this green thread and then you're going to split those 2, put only one down. And in between stitches there's a thread that goes across the breech, this thread right here. You want to always be looking up there and look at the top and not down at your hands, and you will know if you're doing the stitches correctly. Pick one up behind 2 and then we split the 2 to put one down. You're going to pick one up and then split the 2 and pick one up and then put one down, and that's the follow-up row. Resetting the partners, and then we'll try another braiding row. Then you may well be making a mistake. Each thread that you pick up comes behind 2 other threads and you're going to split those 2. Put only one down, but sometimes 2 threads stick together. Then what you will notice is, oh, this thread comes only under 1 thread, and I'm making ropes. It's not engaging as cloth. This row started with 2 up, but it ended with only 1 up, 1 down. You know what happened. There's 2 threads stuck together here at this point, and that messed things up. We sneak back to that place, separate those 2 green threads, and notice between stitches we've got that 1 thread that goes across the breech. Reach behind 2 and then split the 2. At the end of the row we've got 2 down, and that's correct for this row. Really, this row was a braiding row. Maybe it's helpful to have a piece of paper. The braiding row, and the next row you know will be a follow-up row where we have plain stitches all the way across. Pick up one, put one down. Pick one up, put one down, all the way across the row, and the colors help to tell you you've done it correctly. So now we come to the definition of sprang. 2 rows for every 1 row worked. To take a break, you want to secure your work. I'm using this little clip, and I put it on just the front threads. I can look at the structure and see the chain link fence structure here, but you may have noticed the bottom ends of the threads have been tangling. Okay, I tied a knot at the ends of my threads, and look, the structure of the tangle is exactly the same chain link fence structure. Okay, at the top the stitches lean this way, and at the bottom the stitches lean this way. Let's turn it around and see. Yes, they lean this way at the bottom and that way at the top. We have mirror images. Every row of work done on this side gives you a row on this side, and that's what I mean when I say 2 rows of cloth for every 1 row worked, and that's what we call sprang. I have completed this piece. It's long enough for 2 bracelets. I cut down the middle and tie it around my wrist. And I'll tie this one around your wrist. Okay, now just a minute. I need to go back to that place where I showed you how we have this 2 for 1. Did you notice how it curled? Yes, these pieces you are doing will curl. On one side it curls one direction and it will roll around the other way on the other side. But this is a very temporary thing. You block it. You get it wet, lay it flat to dry, and it'll stay flat just fine. In another vein, another bit of information here. When you set the threads on a frame, every time you work a row up here at the top, then you get a row at the bottom. And if I put in a safety string here, we can see that we are getting a bit of cloth here at the bottom, and the same thing at the top. The structure is identical to the structure in chain link fence. In this manner, you can make mittens 2 at a time. Cut them apart and sew them up. Have another look at this hat. Down the middle, there's a line. Can you see that line? That's where the 2 sides met. Sprang is quicker than knitting. Sprang is an amazing technique. I hope you'll give it a try. Here are some references that might help in your exploration of sprang.
About the things that interested you in sprang, or got interested, just how that was a little bit of a bite to like, what got you inspired, or what, you know.
I started doing sprang when I was asked to make sprang military sashes. The gentleman asked me for a military sash. I said, what kind of sash are we talking about? He said, we need sprang sashes. And I said, what's sprang? And this launched me into a whole area of exploration, a textile technique I had no idea existed, and I found it's lots more than sashes. You can do most anything with sprang that you can do with knitting or crochet.